Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to introduce to you Virasana, or hero pose, or simply sitting between your heels. This is going to be a fundamental posture of the body. That is, I think most of us were brought into this world able to do this position, and as we've aged, as things have tightened up, as things have weakened, we have, for many of us, lost the ability to sit in this position with ease or for long periods of time. It's going to be good for the joints of the legs, for the knees in particular. If you have bad knees, if you have tricky knees, this position will likely be very challenging for you, but with that it's going to be a good position for you to practice. Things that are difficult are going to generally be things that we will find benefit in practicing. It's also going to be very good for the core, for the abdominal strength. So the way that you hold yourself up in this position, the way that you support yourself in this position is going to be very different than the way your core supports yourself in other positions. So I know that I myself in this position find weakness in the core, in the upper, like right around the solar plexus in particular. My tendency is to want to round. So this is a good position to practice for core strength and stability as well. So the basics of the position are going to be knees together. Now your knees can be slightly apart, about hip distance if need to. Ideally knees will be together. Heels will be just outside your seat, so you can sort of fit your thumbs in between your hips and your heel bones here. You don't want to be sitting on your heels for this position. You're actually sitting in between your heels. And then your seat is going to be on the ground, or if it's not available to you, it can be up on books. So you'll see I'm actually sitting up on a few books here. You can also use a yoga block. You can use a meditation cushion. I like books in part because I can adjust the height very easily. So often in this position, when I first get into it, is not where I will end. So sometimes if I'm sitting in this position for a long period of time, I'll start with the book stacked a little bit higher, and then as things start to relax, as they start to ease into it, I can take maybe a book or two out in order to intensify the stretch for me. Like other positions we've talked about, you want to make sure your joints are stacked, so head on top of shoulder, on top of hips. You want to reach back here. You can feel your tailbone, and make sure your tailbone is pointing down or even a little bit back. You don't want your tailbone scooped up under you and pointing forward, which will round the back. So you don't want to be sort of down here. You want to be stacked upright, joints on top of each other. And some options, if your calves are tight, you can sort of smooth the flesh of your calves outward as you sit down, which can make that feel a little bit more accessible. You can also try like a pillow, or maybe a rolled up towel, a rolled up blanket between your calves, which might make it just a bit gentler on your legs. So this position is going to be challenging for many of you, I would guess. So you can always bring some weight forward if you need to, bring some weight out of your hips. You can also practice this sitting on your heels. So if sitting between your heels is just super not accessible, sitting on your heels may be where you need to start in order to strengthen your knees, stretch out your quads in order to get into this position. So this is Virasana, hero pose again, sitting between your heels. This is going to be a good meditation position. This is going to be a good position to practice. You may read, you may fold laundry, you can watch TV in this position. You don't always have to be super mindful when you're practicing. It is good to be mindful, but you don't have to be mindful all the time. Yeah, let me know how you find this. Happy sitting, happy meditating, everybody. Be well.